I was diagnosed with ADHD at 23, and my whole life, I always kind of felt like there was something a little bit different about me. So like 2 years ago, I went viral for sharing all of the different ways that I see my ADHD show up in my life. It's like signs and symptoms of ADHD in women, but not the ones that you'll find in the DSM-5, you know? I've compiled all of those videos here. Take a look at them. I look a little different. This was like 2 years ago. Want to do a blanket disclaimer. I am not a mental health professional. Any information that I give you, take it with a grain of salt. This is all based off of my personal experience. I'm sharing it in the hopes that it can help you feel less alone. If you're looking for an ADHD diagnosis, I would recommend taking notes of any of these examples that resonate with you, or if they make you think of other examples in your own life, write them down, bring them to a psychiatrist, and then they can determine if medication is right for you or whatever. I personally do take medication and it helps me a lot, but I know that that's not for everyone. ADHD is a fun little condition because a lot of the stereotypes are based off of really rambunctious young boys. And that's the hyperactive side of ADHD, but I'm more of the inattentive. So I might, oatmeal, stop licking your ween. So I get distracted very easily. But I've always been known as the high achiever. I've always done well in school. I've done well socially, but I always felt like it was harder for me to do those things, which I know that everyone who is high achieving, like obviously you have to work hard, but I don't know. It always felt like I had to work a lot harder, and I was kind of embarrassed about that. And I think that's why a lot of people didn't see me struggle, because I didn't let anyone. I always struggled with memory. I always struggled with forgetfulness. I always struggled with anxiety. Oh my gosh, the anxiety. Because when you have ADHD, it comes with a whole bunch of other like side effect conditions. But now that I'm aware of it, I'm able to like work around them. I love that my ADHD makes me, but sometimes I just have habits that seem a little ridiculous to people, but it's just who I am. It's my ADHD. If any of this information resonates with you, I recommend going to see a doctor. So without further ado, here's a compilation of these videos. Here are some more symptoms of ADHD in women from a fellow ADHD-ite. ADHD-in? I have ADHD. So having ADHD doesn't mean that you can't pay attention. It means that you want to pay attention to everything. In women, the hyperactivity is much more mental than it is physical. So my brain is constantly going a million miles an hour, and that's often reflected in how quickly I can speak. It also doesn't mean that you're a bad student. I graduated high school with a 4.2 GPA, and I graduated college magna cum laude. I can do work very quickly, but I often make careless mistakes. So I would turn in an assignment, but I'd forget to put my name on it. I'm terrible at responding to texts and emails because in my mind, every message is a new task and it becomes very overwhelming very quickly. I really don't like watching movies, but I can binge watch a TV show because there's built-in breaks between episodes. I'm always interrupting people when they're talking to me because they'll say something and that will make me think of something and I want to say it to them before I forget. I constantly have music and phrases stuck in my head. It is never quiet in my brain, ever. It also feels like I have a million tabs open in my brain, so everything that I do creates a new tab, and I'm very good at keeping track of them, but I also am painfully aware of how many they are, and that can quickly become debilitating. I can't do anything unless it has a deadline. Doing chores is a nightmare. I'll be folding laundry and I'll take a towel to another room and then I'll end up reorganizing that room's closet. I can't paint my own nails because before they have a chance to dry, I will randomly decide I need to like deep clean my water bottle and then I will smudge them beyond repair. I am incredibly impatient, so I open packages like a maniac. Like try to imagine a bear opening a piece of mail. That's it. I talk so loudly and I don't even realize it. I am always either late or extremely early. There is no in between because I have no sense of time. If I'm zoned in and working on something, it is very hard for me to stop and tell myself to use the bathroom, even if I have to go really bad. I used to run track and cross country, and my specialty was the mile, which is 4 laps around the track. My PR was 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Subtle flex. One time in a race, I lost count and accidentally ran 5 laps in the mile. People were yelling like, you can stop, you're done. But I was so in the zone. I was like, wow, they're really hyping me up. I've also just always been so overstimulated in grocery stores. There's just so much going on in there. I have always had the memory of a goldfish. One time in high school, we had to memorize a Shakespeare sonnet word for word and present it to the class. It took like 2 straight weeks of nonstop practicing to get this sonnet
through my thick head. And to this day, I can recite Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 word for word. Like, shall I compare thee to a summer's day that out more lovely or more. Once I showed up a day early for a job interview. We were like meeting at this coffee shop and I get there and I'm like, where is she? So I give her a call and I'm like, I'm here. And she's like, you're what? You're where? If I have to be somewhere in the morning, I will set my alarm for the latest possible time and rush to get out the door. And then most likely I will be late. I cannot do anything quietly. I am always stomping around the house and slamming cupboards. I always have at least 10 chapsticks on the go because I am constantly misplacing them. I've got some weird sensory issues with my hands and sometimes I will literally have to get up and go get lotion, like randomly. If you tell me your name, I will not be able to remember it, but I can recite Shakespeare's Sonnet 18 word for word. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? But even though it sucks sometimes, I actually really love my ADHD because of the unique perspective and creativity that it gives me. I cannot sit still. I am always bouncing my leg or twitching my nose. I always have to be moving. Even when I'm falling asleep at night, I rub my feet together like a cricket. I could do a whole video on social issues. I actually consider myself very socially awkward, but when I get into a social situation, I am very good at observing and imitating the people that I'm with so that they like me. This is called masking, and it is exhausting. People love the version of myself that I present to them, but it is so hard and exhausting for me to be that person. I am constantly oversharing in social situations, and then afterwards, I just ruminate on how embarrassed I am about what I said. It takes me forever to leave the house because I need to make sure that I have every possible thing that I could need for where I'm going. I am incredibly impulsive, especially when it comes to online shopping. The swimming pool that I have in my backyard where I swim with my dogs, I saw it on overstock.com and bought it within 10 minutes. I've always bounced around from job to job just because I lose interest. So now I do freelance work and it's so much better because I can choose what I'm working on. It is incredibly hard for me to visualize things. So I almost failed my written driver's test because I just couldn't visualize the scenarios that were written, but the actual driving one I passed with flying colors. I hate finishing tasks. I can write a whole essay, but it is torture for me to go back and edit it and put the finishing touches on it. I don't know if this is rooted in science, but caffeine affects me very differently than most people. I can drink a cold brew at 5 p.m. and still sleep through the night. One time I took Adderall in college and it did not affect me the way that it affected the other people that I took it with. I was able to have a full night's sleep where they were like up all night, just completely zoned in, whereas I was just operating like a normal person. I will go ham on organizing a closet and then within a few days it's a mess again. And then I will go back and reorganize it again after like 3 weeks. It's just this like never-ending process. My brain moves way quicker than my mouth, so I will forget what I'm saying mid-sentence sometimes. Getting this diagnosis has been so validating because all this time I thought these were things that everybody experienced. Turns out I just have ADHD.